Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA Wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel LA Little. As far as what happened today, well, guess what? We moved on up, folks. 1% here on the Russell. That was the laggard today. S&P just slightly ahead of that. Actually, S&P just trailed it at the end. But the big news was here, the NDX and the IXC, which is the NASDAQ composite. You got the push up. You had the big three: Apple, Google, Microsoft. Apple was finally getting a bid after about 2 weeks of couldn't find a bid. And then you had Google making new highs. You had Amazon making new highs. You had the big cap tech leading the way on the way up, and they weren't going to give it up. But it wasn't just the big cap tech. It was overseas. It was those European markets, right? The DAX, the CACs, up almost 2% across the board. That pushed them up to the B points of their ABCD structures. Asia was up as well, and you had a little bit of a pullback in gold and silver as the dollar went up a little bit. The currencies are range trading, and so as they continue to range trade, that continues to allow these markets to just gravitate higher. Bonds down pretty big, down 2 full points, 1.6%. So that's it in a nutshell. If you joined me last night, we were talking about the ABCD structure to the upside, the potential for that to fire because we had that little test down into this area here, right? Does a little reverse hammer type position. That says that we're going to try to move down and try to get onto that and then take it higher. And that's exactly what we did. We come right back down, test into that, and get the ABCD structure break now to the upside. So if I draw that in, I have a little trouble with my screen here, but if I draw that in, it takes us up to somewhere into this range. That's going to test these swing point highs before it came off that September low. And so we're going to go back up and try to test those highs into the end of the year, it looks like. It may not happen this week. It may actually get up there this week. I mean, it certainly can push that far. We've seen it do it already. But I would think sometime early January, it's going to try to test those highs and move higher. And now, if you pull it back a little bit and you look at it on the weekly basis, you can actually see here that this has the potential to move right back up to that breakdown bar. That price point 2103, and with today's close at 2078, we're not that far away again. And that, if you're wanting this to go out on a bullish note, that's the bullish note. Get it back up to here. That would be the ideal spot. So in about half as much as you did last week, another doubling of what you did today, and take it right up into there end of the week. So that's the S&P 500, and when you look at that, nothing wrong with it. ABCD structure breakout still has farther to go to actually fulfill the targets. If we move over to the NASDAQ, over here in the NASDAQ, you got the breakout over this bar as well. So it's over the high, the swing point high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be a swing point high there. It gets over tonight. So as you get over that swing point high, that's going to give you, all right, the potential to go up here and hit these highs. And so in all cases, if you look there, if you look at the NDX, or even if you come over to the Russell, they're all doing the ABCD structures to the upside. The Russell's the one that's struggling with it, but it got over it. Top there was 1159.71. You close at 1160, so you're just over it. All of these trying to ABCD their way into the new year. And on the Russell, it's going to be a nice steep one if it can actually fulfill. And the Russell has been the laggard, continues to be the laggard, but that would be a nice little push up here back to the top of this breakdown bar. And so that's the way these indexes are set up. They're all set up the same way, and they're all set up nice and strong into the end of the year. And let me get that lined up so you can see it better. And that Russell, that price point is going to try to come back into is 1183. Overseas and in sectors, we actually have some strength too. When I come back, we'll take a look at those. Be right back.
Do you have retirement funds you want to keep invested, yet you constantly worry about a potential market crash? As LA says, you shouldn't worry about a crash until it's time. Through LA's extensive research, he has identified the key characteristics that are necessary for a market crash. In the 2008 crash, for example, our investors actually made money and avoided huge losses through LA's investment advice. Because the markets usually go up, our retirement service keeps you invested when risk is low and reduces your exposure when risks become elevated. There are 3 portfolios you can follow: aggressive, balanced, and conservative. It's a simple process at a reasonable cost that requires very little of your time. To learn more, go to our homepage, hover over Retirement Service, and click Get Started.
All right, as I come back here, I just want to emphasize to you this retirement service, which you just heard about, and that is that, we've got, 2, 3 more days into the year. It's the last 3 days that you can get this at the introductory price for the year, and that's $75 a year. Folks, $75 is a drop in the bucket for your retirement service. And if you haven't checked this out, the whole principle is look at the intermediate to long-term time frames, try to reposition into those things when the risk is greater, put more to the cash side. When the risk is less, put more to the equity side. And this is based on the neoclassical, looking at intermediate long-term trends, period. $75 a year, guaranteed price, that price for the next 5 years if you join now. You got until the end of the year, so you got 3 more days. If you want to get started, just come over here, hit the Get Started button, drop down, Get Started, and you can subscribe here and get that introductory price guaranteed for 5 years. It will go up on the first of the year. All right, getting back to the charts here, let's pull up the DAX and the CACs. If we pull up the DAX, now the DAX, we talked about this as well last night. We were saying that this was setting up to get an ABCD structure to the upside. And it's going to be a nice one if it breaks and holds. It did make that move today, and that push is going to take it up into this area. On the push, you got this breakdown bar up here. If it stretches a little bit too far, it could get you right to the top of that bar. The projection is actually a little bit lower, but we'll see how far it wants to go. The price point on the B was 10. Let's see, it was 10.829, and today you close it at 10.860. So you're just over it. If they hold it one more day, I suspect they're going to try to push it. If they push, they're going to help the U.S. push as well. That's going to be the key tomorrow. I would not be surprised to see some sort of a little back testing into this tomorrow. If it happens right off the bat, of course, that will happen before the U.S. opens, and it may have already turned by then, and we'll get a gap up here as well. And we talked about them last night probably being what would gap us up today, and that's exactly the way it played out. If you look at the CACs, CAC's doing the same thing. It's coming back up to get over that ABCD structure. It was before, it was the CACs leading the European rally, but that changed after the terror attack there in France. I was going to pull over here and look at the weeklies on the DAX. So the big price bar to get over is this one. 11113, so 11,113, and so you got a ways to go to get there, but that looks to be the target on the DAX. Let's move over to the sectors because we had some ABCD structures fire on the general indexes as I showed you earlier, but you also had it firing on the sectors, and if you get it firing in both places, you can actually get some good movement. And I believe that's what has started up here. I'm going to pop straight into some of these. Here's the XLB. It's right up there trying to break out on that on the B point. The XLF, the financials actually got the breakout. And I don't want to draw all of these in, but you can see the ABCD structures coming off this low, right, back up, moving higher. And so you're going to see that here. You're going to see it on the XLI. You're going to see it on the XLK. You're going to see it in a bunch of these charts, right, where the ABCD structures have already fired and they're pushing these things back up towards the highs. Here's the XLP. It's already on its and it's making new highs. I believe the discretionary did it today as well. It did, and so forth. And so you get the picture. ABCD structures right across the board, right across the major sectors, across European, at least the DAX so far, and across the indexes. If we move to the currencies, because so much of what's going to happen is going to be tied to these currencies. If we move to the currencies, they did get a little bit of a pullback today. I thought they were going to try to break it a little bit higher on the European currency, but they actually pulled it back. That's what allowed the euro weakness is what allowed the DAX to make its run. This still is range bound. It looks like at least until the end of the year it's going to stay there. I was thinking that they might get a press to the top side, but they didn't get it up here, and they haven't gone to hit these. But I believe that is probably coming still, but just not yet. So if you're asking what's next, well, what's next is follow through, and the follow through off those ABCD breakouts, bullish breakouts, they're confirmed at this point. Now it's on to the targets. Looks like it's going to try to shoot up there into the end of the year. That's it for tonight, folks. As always, I thank you for joining me again. If you want to come in at the ground floor, get in with guarantees, check out the retirement service. If you've got long-term investments where you're not trying to trade in and out, right? These things don't trade 2 or 3 times a year. They're not trading vehicles. They are investment vehicles. And if that's what you're looking for, then I encourage you to get on board while it's still cheap and guaranteed. As always, I thank you. Tell a friend, tell two. I'm LA, and this is and it was your daily NeoTA Wrap. I will not have a show tomorrow and will not have one on Thursday, so I'm taking the next 2 days off. Unfortunately, you're on your own. If I get a chance, I'll do one early tomorrow afternoon and post it then. Have a great one. Take care. Good night.